Many years ago, I came across a few lines in a book that I connected with. They were, "It's easy to judge, but you never know another person's heart, what gives them strength and what breaks them down." I have learned to listen more and speak less. The result has been eye-opening conversations and inspirational moments that I have shared with you right here. Hello and welcome to Crystal One-on-One. We're on location at Le Chateau Brasserie Belge, and today I am sitting with larger-than-life TV personality and host of Scoop on Scoop, Tina Fierce. Hello.
Hi. Do the happy fingers.
Happy fingers. I love it. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'll be lying if I said I'm not good. I'm good.
You're good?
How are you?
I am good.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. It's nice to see
Okay,
you.
it's been an hour.
But you know, funny thing, because I think we both are online all the time.
Yeah.
Kind of like we see each other every single
On a daily,
day, right?
I pretty much know what you're up to, just like you know what I'm up to. So
But the funny thing is, like, we haven't really met in person. Seriously.
never, ever. This was the first. Actually, when you reached out, I was like, say what? This is Emofere. I saw the Instagram thing. I'm like,
No.
I get lots of those.
I can
People slide
imagine.
into my DMs for totally the most obnoxious reasons. Some people slide in for obvious reasons. Some people slide in just to throw some shade. And then some, very few, it's genuine.
It's genuine. So you
And I've
don't-
had people use different people's portals to try and get into my
Lord.
DMs.
So you had to first go check the profile and say, is this
is she the one? Okay, I
This is
think so.
interesting.
Yeah.
I was telling someone the other day that when I contact my guests different ways now,
Yeah.
I have learned that there are people who respond faster on social media than if you were to send them an actual text.
True.
Or even try to call them.
True.
I was like, how is it we're taking that shift? We're like,
I don't even know how it happened, but like for me, if you think you were actually lucky that I actually did go to my DM, because at times I see my DM ping and I'm like,
no, thank
not
you.
today. You have like about, okay, I can't even estimate how many people send me DMs in a day. But on that day, I usually go into my DMs like about every 2 weeks, check out what's happening, if there's anything
Respond to a few
important, if there's
things.
business. Then that day was the day that I actually saw you. But I would have gone like 3 weeks. I've had
See,
people.
I'm lucky like that.
I know, right? And I've had people reach out and tell me, "Oh, you're so full of it." We reach out to
You
you.
get a lot of negativity there.
Yeah. Oh, the negativity. I live for it. I keep telling people,
What is it like
for
fuel
you to
for you?
appreciate how positive life is, you need to have tons of negativity thrown your way. Because imagine, if everything was always this beautiful, this controlled, this beautiful, what would you do if you were faced with a situation that wasn't this beautiful and controlled? You'd freak.
Well, yeah,
You'd freak
you're
out.
right. I mean, I always say you will not understand the good times. You can't experience the good times if
You don't know
go
the
through
bad times. Yeah, so I live for
But
the negativity.
also, it gives you a good idea of the impact that you're having, right?
Yes.
Because if no one is saying anything,
Yeah, that if no one is saying anything, it means you're doing absolutely nothing.
you're just there existing.
Yeah, I'm
breathing,
existing.
wasting oxygen.
You know? Waste of space.
Well, welcome to the show.
I'm proud to be here.
How was your morning today? What is your average weekday like?
Weekday, I get out of my bed at, it depends. At times it's 4 a.m., at times it's 5 a.m. Because I have 3 kids going to school. So get up, get them ready for school and
So
drop
do
them
you
off
drop
at
them
school.
and then you go to work?
No.
No?
It's different for me, no.
Then you go home and get back to bed?
Yes. After I drop them and the car picks them, I go back to bed for like another 30 minutes.
Oh, you can finally admit I do the same because I found someone else. I do that all the time.
You give it another 30 minutes, then you get up again and then you pretend to be lazy. Or you pretend to tell yourself, I love my job, I'm going right now, only to show up at work extremely late. But hey. And then the rest
Thank
of that.
you for your honesty.
I'm being honest. I don't have, the days you wake up in the morning and you're like, do I really need this job? Is my rest important? Do I feel like I'm breaking down? Now your mind starts to give you all these weird things like, you need to rest. You really do.
And there's always that little voice that says, but today,
It's
today
just
you
a
can
day. You know, it's just a day. But hey, so after that, I'm always at work by 8:40 latest.
Yes.
Then I'm on set from 9 to 11.
Okay.
After that, I have to sit down and then script for my night show, the famous one,
Yes.
the gossip show. And yeah, that's pretty much my day.
That's what and do you work weekends?
No,
So it's just Monday to
totally
Friday.
off.
So are
Weekends.
weekends like
are
yours and
for me and my kids.
Oh.
You can't call me out. You can't do nothing. You want anything from me, you have to find me at home.
so that means like what, you're a homebody.
I am a homebody and I love it. I live for it. Even when I used to work half day, you catch me at home. I have things I like to do.
Really?
I love to
What?
garden. I'm a farmer.
You're a farmer?
Yes,
Tell me
full
more.
blown.
What? What? Where?
Full blown.
Where?
I
Where's
have
your farm?
land in Gayaza,
Okay.
place called Chitukutwe. We have ginger. Okay, there's too many things. I'm into so much. Then I also have in Zimbabwe, where I'm doing potatoes and animals. So I have hobbies
Okay.
that occupy me,
Well, that takes up your time, clearly.
and it pays too.
So how did you get into farming? Is this like from your parents or did you grow up?
I don't know, but I think I got it from my grandma. Growing up, we had this tiny little garden. I grew up in Bugolobi.
Okay.
So we had this tiny little garden, and my grandmother used to put so many tiny things in there. You'd go there, it's like, Nedda, genda kwa the left corner. Yo, what you mint? You're like, what is mint? What carrot? And it was such a tiny space. And then as I kept growing up, and especially when I joined New Vision, because my CEO is a farmer.
Yes.
So I had to
yes,
start
yes.
doing the whole Harvest Money Expos and all of that. So I sat back and I asked myself, I'm like, there is land. I have the time. I have the passion. Why not? I started it as a joke. I started with just maize on 3 acres.
And
The
3
kickback was
acres, that's
good.
just a joke. Eh?
Yeah,
Okay,
the kickback
madam.
was good. So me and my partners, I got partners too. We're like, you know what? Let's blow out. Let's take a chance on so many things. So yeah,
That's nice to hear.
that's where I'm
really
at.
nice to
And
hear.
on top of that, I'm a dog breeder.
Okay.
I
What breeds do you
love
have?
dogs. I have so many breeds, down from German Shepherds, Huskies,
You have
Pit Bulls,
sausage dogs?
Barbells. You want a sausage dog? I actually
Yes.
have one on sale right now.
We shall talk.
We shall. Yeah. So I have so many things that can keep me at home, and it's peaceful.
Okay.
It's serene. You know, if I decide to garden the whole day, no one is going to call me out for bad gardening skills, are they? It's my garden.
It's your garden.
I'll mess them up if I have to mess them up. Yes.
So how long has this been that you've been passionate about farming?
I think it was always there. I just didn't pay it attention because of the ups and downs of life.
Okay.
But when I finally got the chance to settle in and ask myself, so what do you want to be doing on the side? Because you've been in media. We all need to have a side hustle now. My side hustles as a media personality, you know them. It's either voiceover artist, or if you're bold enough, you'll join film and all of that. I don't like film. I don't like the movie
It's a lot
industry.
of time though.
I don't know how to play pretend so well. That's why I can't do
Acting
movies.
is you have to take on another personality.
Yeah, I can't play pretend.
No.
Maybe if you're going to write a script basically for me, in
Be
my
yourself.
personality,
Well, but you know it happens though. I
Then
see
there
that
I'm
with
good.
lots of personalities.
yes, then there I'm good. So when you look at all your side hustles as a media artist, you're like, but I need something more tangible because our jobs come and go.
Yeah.
Today you could be seated and you get about 1 million for just voicing over something. Then weeks could stretch and there's no side gig.
Yeah.
I decided I wanted something a little bit more permanent. And for me, I have this thing, I don't know how to half-ass. I don't know if
Okay.
that's allowed on this show. I don't know how to half-ass. If I'm going to do something,
You go all
I
the
go
way.
all in. And
Okay.
I want to exhaust it. I want to exhaust me on it. Then if it fails, it will fail, but I know I give it all. If it succeeds, I'm like, yay, nice.
The one thing I know about farmers
Yeah.
is you really have to have the passion
And the
and
patience.
the patience,
Yes.
and you have to bounce back. Because sometimes it's great, other
Sometimes
times
it is not. Yeah, that's the one thing I know about
So what
farming
was your
too.
biggest gamble that didn't pay off?
Right now, nothing has not yet paid off.
Eh.
I hate to brag, but You see, farming is, I don't know why people think farming is just something where you just go and you're like, let me buy beans, let me buy this. It's calculative. If you want to get good yield, you have to study your soil, you have to study what weather is it, you have to study so many things. And if you do that, you can end up getting so much. You don't have to gamble with it, really, per se.
But it's also time intensive as well.
Yeah, it's time intensive, but for me, it doesn't really bother me.
Okay.
Because I never even show up at the farm. I can go about a month without
And you
showing
trust
up.
your people because
but
that's
I know
a thing as well. People
everything
are let
on the
down.
ground. I know everything on the ground. I get minute-to-minute updates. And it helps when you have a good team. I'm not going to lie to you. There's one thing I don't know how to do. Child. Me and movements. And it helps when you have a good team. I'm not going to lie to you. There's one thing I don't know how to do. Child. Me and movements are not friends.
What do you mean?
The time and the energy and the courage it took me to leave work to come here.
Are you serious?
Jesus.
So you,
I
like
can't
in a
see
day you go
myself-
one place and very happily go home and stay home?
That's what happens. I can spend up to 6 months without going to Uganda downtown. Like town, just normal regular town.
Okay.
Because for me, it's the same route. It's work, home. Work, home.
I honestly can't relate.
You can't?
I can't.
I hate the hustle, the bustle.
Sorry. Oh, okay.
I can't. And then I have this thing where people say maybe I'm just mpisa ambi. I hate making small talk.
Which is required in a lot of situations.
In so many situations, because I know if I make small talk, one, I'm either going to lie to you, or two, I'm going to tell you this is not
what
working.
you think.
Exactly. So it's much better to stay cocooned off, according to me. I prefer my cocoon. I love it. It works for
Have
me.
you always been like that? And what kind of child were you? Were you like also loud and
As a child,
akasuku at home?
Mama's. My father used to call me Makanika.
Oh,
I was hands-on
okay.
to death.
Uh-huh.
You will find me in my house fixing light fixtures, trying to make these, opening up kettles. I was that child. Grew up with so many boys around me. I was a tomboy, but as much as I was a tomboy, they let me try to be a girl, and I didn't want to be a girl per se.
Okay.
But I was always a child who was in a corner by herself, messing up something, trying to tinker with it or fix it. I was not playful.
Okay. You weren't very social, would we say?
I was not really a
kept to
social
yourself?
butterfly. I kept to myself because every time I tried to extend myself to people and try to be around people, they would look at me like I have a problem, because I wanted to look at everything from a logical perspective from when I was young. So I had to question everything. Then they started calling me Owolu Gezi Gezi.
I have a
So I'm
feeling
like,
if we were to ask your family, the stories are like...
You would have a good time. You would have a good time. But for all the things that I was still a good person. That's one thing my family members will tell you. I'm not in a room and there's not laughter, there's no one slinging jokes. I am comfortable being who I am with the people that I let into my circle. And I have a very small circle. If you're in my circle, they'll tell you she is a chuckle a minute. I am bubbly.
Okay.
Yeah, but if I don't know you, it's going to be more like, okay.
You can't be
I
bothered.
can't deal. Yeah, so that's pretty much me.
You said you grew up in Bugolobi?
Yes, Solent Avenue.
Where were you born?
Solent Avenue, Bugolobi.
You were born there?
Yeah.
Hey, okay.
I'm a city girl.
All right. Completely. Where did you go to school?
That's the part I don't like to answer, because every time I answer it, people try to go back to my schools and try to backtrack on me.
Really? But everyone has a history. Everyone has schools they went to. Are you hiding anything?
I'm not hiding anything per se, but I remember when I just started out, and a particular group of people went to my old schools, and they started sending me these different hate mail, and I had issues with me going to school. You know,
Okay.
my dad will tell you that.
Okay,
I
you
would
did
not
enjoy school?
relate.
Huh?
I would not relate to pretty much people. I would always get into trouble
Okay.
because I was a nerd and I was rebellious. So they didn't quite go well together. And now people who knew what I was like in school would take that and use it against me. So I said, you know what? Why give you so much power? So nowadays, whenever someone asks me, so where did you go to school? I'm like, I didn't get an education. All
We
this is
know that's
self-taught.
not true. We know
All
that's
this is
not
self-taught.
true.
But I went to a particular school, a very nice, tiny school in Ginger. I love that school.
Was that all of your primary?
No, primary. You want to talk primary? My
Yeah.
issues start when I'm in secondary. Primary. Every Bugolobi child, if you were in Bugolobi, you had to pass somewhere around Chiswa Primary School.
Okay.
Memories.
Good memory.
Good times. And then kindergarten, I was actually at, there was a kindergarten at the church,
Yes.
Mbuya.
Yes.
So I was there for kindergarten. Then for primary, I went to Chiswa Primary School, and then I left Chiswa Primary School in my P5. And then I joined some other small school, Obakachaliyo, Mbatumire. Some school there in Mtungo, there, St. Margaret High.
Is that where you sat?
Margaret Grant.
your
Yeah, that's
PLE?
where I sat my PLE.
Okay.
And then after that,
Ginger? Straight to Ginger?
no.
Hey.
Took my father so very many annoying things to be like, I'm done, let's go to Ginger.
So was it growing pains
I don't even
as
know if they were.
well? Because if primary was pretty smooth sailing, and then you hit high
I
school.
think for me,
and then you're like, aha.
what happened, why I turned into a rebellious teen, my mom died in my P7 vacation. And before she passed on, my parents separated when I was, I think, 5 or 6. So there was always that gap. But I still thank my parents, even with their separation. And I always tell people, I'm like, ain't nothing wrong with you walking away if it's not working, right? There is nothing wrong if you have
Because if you're miserable, you're going to make everyone else
everybody
around you
miserable. And my parents knew that. When they split, everybody thought it was going to become horrible. My parents did the most obnoxious thing. My dad had a house here, and my mom bought a house like there. So the
For real?
mornings were the best. My mom would wake us up, dress us up, and we would walk past, go to my dad's place. And every morning my dad, for all my life in primary school, my dad fixed me fresh juice every morning himself, which I had to pick from his house. And then they would walk me to the school bus, the two of them.
Wow.
So for me, it was goals, and it was working. So when she passed on, knowing how cool they were, they'll come home, some weekends they'll come and sit. My dad had somebody else, and mom would still come and we'll kick it.
It sounds like they were friends.
They were
actually
friends.
were friends.
They were friends. So
Wow.
when she
That's
passed
so
on,
nice to hear because the horror stories.
I know. No, I can't honestly even hold it against my parents. I was proud of them. I was proud of the decisions that they took and they made,
Yeah.
because in the long run, we were still priority. And
Yes.
then again, in the long run, we were not just their priority. Their happiness too as individuals was their priority. And it's so unfair how people always want you to set your happiness aside just because you have kids. It's
That is what women are
it's
told.
it's
It's always
contradictory.
about, what about the children? What
Nah.
about the kids?
Nah,
'Cause
you can
have
actually
three,
raise.
right?
I have 3. Anyway, so when my mom passed on, for me it was
Had your mom met someone else as well?
no.
Okay.
She was pretty much like me. My dad still says it. Money driven. That woman would work. You can catch me. I can work.
Yeah.
I can work, Crystal. I can work from dusk till dawn. If there's a paycheck, I'll get it, because I do not believe in receiving.
Yeah.
I grew up in a home where they used to constantly tell you, you want that chair? Bloody go work for it. And I teach my kids that you have to work for the things that you like. So when she passed on, it was mixed emotions. I was now in my P7 vac. Mama's passed. Now this is the time I felt I
Was she
needed her the
unwell?
most. Yes, she got cerebral malaria. This is the time I felt I needed her the most because I was sheltered.
Yeah.
If I wasn't with my mom and dad, I was with my grandparents, who I loved to the moon and back, because they pretty much spoiled me, you know. So I didn't know who to be. I was confused. Am I still mommy's daughter or am I still my father's daughter? And then I'm going to meet people I don't know. I'd never been to a boarding school. I didn't know how
from
to.
that, you go to boarding
Yes.
school. And your brothers, are they older or younger?
It's actually was just two of us.
Okay.
Now my elder brother, still a miracle story. I love my life. My elder brother, who is older than me, is deaf.
Okay.
So you have to understand the dynamic of growing up in that home.
Okay.
He's deaf and we had to learn sign language and all those things. But he's way older than me. He suffered meningitis when he was young. And because they didn't know the symptoms, they thought it was malaria.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he lost his hearing. So when I joined secondary, I'm going to give you the story in ta-ta-ta. When I joined secondary, I was confused.
Okay.
I'm like, so there's guys and chicks. The chicks act a way I don't understand. They're all like, bougie and being girly. It didn't click with me because when I grew up with my family, the way we grew up, the boys were always a lot more than the girls. So
And you said you were a tomboy, really?
Yes.
So you spend a lot of time with boys.
with the
anyway.
boys. But then again, here's what confused me. I couldn't deal with the girls because they were too girly.
Yeah. But then,
I couldn't deal with the boys because I'm one of those unlucky people. I hate to make it sound like a brag, but it's actually a real thing where someone will not take you serious because you have way too much sex appeal, even at a young age like that. So when I would try to kick it with the boys just wanted to get to know of me. Not to know me, but to know of me.
okay.
Two different things.
It's really young, though.
Exactly. I had my
So
hips.
did you develop early?
My hips were like this by my P7 back. I had tiny boobs. They're still tiny, but we're working on that. Push-up bras help.
I can give you some of mine.
I wish I could take some. That's so wrong. Anyway, so it caught me in a position where I didn't know how to deal. So I now went back to default settings. My grandparents taught me how to read from a very, very tiny age. By the age of 5, I could read a full Mills and Boone novel. I used to steal them from my elder ones.
Reading Mills and Boone at
I used to
5?
steal them from the elder ones.
Oh, God,
so when they would
no.
hide them, I'm like, shh. I didn't
That was
even
like
know.
nonsense.
The thing is, I didn't even know what I was reading. I used to challenge myself to read the words, regardless of the fact if I know what they mean or not.
Okay.
That was it. So I decided to become a recluse now. It would just be
So
classes
you and books.
and books.
But then I'm trying to understand because you said you were a nerd, but you were rebellious. So
I'm
if
telling
you're
you that.
keeping to yourself with your books, who are you fighting with?
Oh,
The
trust
books?
me, I never wanted, I used to stand up to authority at any given point. It didn't matter if you were the owner of the school, if you were the who, I'd be like, it's my money. You can test me, I'll get another school.
Wow.
I just hated the fact that it was confusing. It was a very conflicting
You do
time.
know you were dealing with your grief.
Yes, I was
And
actually,
you were also very angry, probably.
yeah, until they had to take me to see a psychiatrist is when I found that out. So after a while, I think for me it started to take shape of, I started to understand what I was dealing with and what I was going through about my senior 3.
Okay. So those first few years were really
Yeah,
rocky.
I was just walking through them. I was like, whatever. I'd go home, I give them headache. My dad was a single dad. He's trying to raise us. As he's raising us, we're spoiled too. And then he also felt he had to do extra because our mom had just passed on. We gave that man hell, Papa, wherever you are. I'm sorry. But we gave him hell. But we turned out all right. At the end of the day, we did turn out all right. I did finally manage to keep it together and, you know, go through school the right
What was
way.
the turning point for you?
The turning point for me was when my eldest brother, who is deaf.
Yeah.
Now, you have to understand, being deaf when you were not born deaf is something that throws you off guard. You don't know how to deal with this new world. And one thing he always constantly told me and his dad, and my dad, and my mom too, is regardless of the fact that he was deaf, he wanted to be treated normal.
Yes.
He wanted to have everything normal and regular.
Yeah.
And when my mom was dying, she just told me one last thing because she took her last breath in my face. She was home. So she told me, of all the things you can do in this world, look after your brother. He may be older than you, but look after your brother. Actually, when you see us together, you can't tell he's older than me. I'm way taller, way bigger, way all these things. So when I was in my senior 4, he was supposed, because he did school slower.
Okay.
Because he didn't want to go to special needs schools, because we didn't even have deaf schools. It was only one, the one in Ntinda.
So he was lip reading?
He can lip read very well. So it reached a point when they took him his first term in Ntinda, he was in his, I think, P2. And this is a boy who is about 11. But because of his condition, he had to do everything slower.
Yes.
So he goes to school for the first time, because at first it was being done at home and different institutions were helping out.
Yeah.
So he goes into P2 and it's a deaf school. He came back home one day and was like, just because I can't hear doesn't mean I don't have the same chances. When you find me walking down the street, you can't tell I'm deaf. That threw me off. It threw me off, and it brought so many things up. I'm like, why do I have the chance to live my life regular and normal, and he don't? So I remember I told my dad, I'm like, here's what's going to happen. He's going to get a regular education. I don't care how we're going to do it, but he's going to get a regular education, and we're going to put the time and the work in. And then my dad looks at me and he goes like, yo, I just got retrenched. I'm not working. How are we going to do this? It's just me and you. I was like, you leave that to me. In my senior 4, I was working as a bartender.
Wow.
Yeah. I've been paying my brother's tuition since his P3. He is now done with campus and has a job. And every time I see that, I'm so proud. Because at times I feel like my mom is somewhere and she's like, you go, girl. You did something. My dad is so proud of that. And we're still a close-knit unit, you know?
Yeah.
And when I told my dad, don't worry about the fees, he goes like, but you have to do school. I'm like, I'm able-bodied. I can skip classes and read, you know? And I'm lucky I have this brain here, smart brain. Look at me getting you teary. And I don't.
I'm so proud of you.
Like, you're the first person who actually knows pretty much all who I'm telling this. So we went through that, you know, and I would go bartend in a small bar, still again in Bugolobi, and my uncle, my dad, in the sun circle, and it always helped. Whenever I'm in Bugolobi, I feel like I'm home.
So that's good, because
From
I'm sure
down to the market,
in the area, right?
From down to the markets, down to the regular people.
Woman. Come with us.
You want a tissue?
Yeah. Even my nose is running. Anyway, these things happen.
They happen. So I think for me, the fact that I knew now, look here, you have your brother, you have your dad.
You have to get to
I started working from that age to today. I have never skipped a bit.
Now I understand.
If people know me, if people have their faces, there's a time I was actually, after bartending there, I got another bartending job, because I noticed I have a way with people.
Yeah.
I have a certain,
and you
like,
have energy. You have this big energy, which I can imagine.
So any place I would waltz into and I'm like, I can work. They'll be like, but you're way too young. I'm like, leave that to me. I'll handle up on that. You would find me sit down like about 5 men way older than me. And they'll be like, so we have this topic. And I would give them my own opinion, and they liked me.